This is VOCM Open Line. Call now to get in the queue. 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's your host, Brian Callahan.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome to Open Line. I am your host, Brian Callahan, with the steady hand of Dave Williams behind the scenes and answering your calls to get on the air, and the numbers to do that, of course, 709-273-5211, 1-888-590-8626. That's the old VOCM, in case you have that dial and the letters on your numbers, and I always have to do a double check. We'll also take your texts at the 273-5211 number and your emails at openline@vocm.com. I should say openline@vocm.com. But of course, we'd prefer you'd call the open line, and we'll even sing a song about it on Friday. So you'll want to tune in for that. So certainly feeling more today like spring has finally sprung. Though I am acutely aware, having grown up and lived in this province for my entire existence to date, that there's always the potential for a squall or something in May. Let's not go there. Thank you very much. Sorry. Just enjoy the climbs today as the warmer breezes start hitting us in the face. Can't wait. First off, most of us are in for another one of these emergency alerts. I just want to get this out there right away. Of course, these emergency alert tests that come up on our phone, one scheduled for later this morning, just before 10 a.m., 9:55, Dave, I think. As I understand it, can be a bit jarring, even when you know it's coming, even if you're expecting it. And depending on what you're doing at the moment, hopefully not in some big meeting or conference, or if, of course, you mute your phone for that anyway, or court. That's a big no-no. And speaking of these alerts, not sure how many of you received the one last night regarding a dangerous man with a machete. Fortunately, and I don't mean that in a good way on Nova Scotia, but it was not in my backyard or my neck of the woods or our neck of the woods. It wasn't even in the province. It was in Nova Scotia. So this was an alert for communities, a couple of communities in Nova Scotia, not Newfoundland and Labrador. So it has to do with the internet connections, of course, where it gets routed, locations, services, the towers. It's a technical mash, and we are going to get someone. I'm looking into getting someone just to kind of explain it, even though we kind of have an idea what's happening. And for many, it's through the Nova Scotia hub, so it gets routed, and we can get into that in a more technical explanation, but there's just so much else on the go, not the least of which is the situation out in Central. I just want to quickly mention, of course, story in the news regarding a couple of missing teenagers out in the Grand Falls, Windsor area. And you can't get this out there enough, really. So there are more ears and eyes in the know. We have 17-year-old Lily Hurley and 16-year-old Kenneth Norris. Yesterday, reported missing, left around 2:45 in the afternoon. And as of this morning, we had the RCMP on our morning show, your VOCM mornings. Still no sign of them. No whereabouts. No one's been able to reach them either through their cell phones either. And they were operating a quad, a 2018 orange Can-Am Outlander. It's got an NL plate on it. Get into that. But if you see a yellow Can-Am Outlander, the license plate may not come first to mind, but certainly the color and the type of vehicle, you might recognize that. So the two are known to frequent the areas of Main Street West and New Bay Road in Grand Falls, Windsor. Let's see, Kenny is wearing a white and orange helmet and was carrying a backpack, and we're not sure what Lily was wearing at the time. So yeah, any kind of help, any assistance, any sightings, any knowledge whatsoever, certainly. Let's hope that this turns out well. There's just a lack of communication here. We don't know really. It's hard to tell what all the more, say, private or sensitive issues of this, and whether or not, there was any routine of just going long periods without checking in. Who knows? We don't know all of those details yet, but let's just hope. Bottom line, safe return. Quick check on sports. So big night tonight versus the Habs and the Sabres. Of course, renewing a great old rivalry that I grew up watching in the 70s and 80s with the stacked teams Les Habitants had in those days, the likes of Lafleur, Robinson, and Gainey, and of course Mr. Dryden. But the Sabres weren't bad themselves. It's a French connection, including the Hall of Famers, Gilbert Perreault, Rick Martin, René Robert, keeper Donnie Edwards. All those days come flowing back to me when I see this matchup tonight. So one thing's for sure, The Habs are going to bring the physical game, the Sabres are going to bring the physical game, and the Habs are going to have to score more, period. And as much as we know we can rely on heroics from our own Alex Newhook, which we just saw, because we wouldn't be in the second round without him. I should say Habs wouldn't be. He's not the sniper on the team, so 50-goal scorers like Caulfield are going to have to find the twine if they have any hope. That and the equally heroic work of Jakub Dobiš. And the Jays dropped a few in a row now, but they don't count because they're at the Trop, the repaired Trop in Tampa, where it's never been kind to the Jays. They get a win there. It's like... second coming. But they're finding their groove as they work through injuries. I think they're kind of just idling right now, except for Okamoto, who now has 10 dingers on the air. He looks great, man. The crack of the bat off... The crack of his bat sounds great. And one last one. The Leafs won the lottery, not the Stanley Cup, mind you. They had an 8.5% chance of getting the first pick last night in the upcoming draft. And they get their gloves on Gavin McKenna, the likely first-round number 1 overall pick, who's actually signed up along with some other pretty impressive names for the World Championships for Canada later this month. So that'll be great too. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I just want to, right off the bat yesterday, the announcement of Louise Arbour as the next Governor General of Canada. Now, no one can take away the credentials and the resume of Madame Arbour, not the least. Okay, so the headline, of course, a former Supreme Court of Canada justice, but her work as a war crimes prosecutor, her leadership, human rights advocacy and diplomacy, she's... her resume, suffice to say, speaks for itself. But it's also important in a lot of ways. I mean, this is more than just a figurehead announcement that we've seen in the past. First of all, the next Governor General absolutely had to be bilingual, and fluently so. With all due respect to the former Governor General, Mary Simon, she was bilingual in English, not me, English and Inuktitut, but was not fluent in French, Canada's other official language. So that often caused a little bit of controversy. And when you compound that on top of the recent controversy regarding the Air Canada CEO in the wake of that crash in New York, the Air Canada flight that 2 pilots were killed, and the sympathies that were handed out in English, that also compounded things. And then you look at the other experience that Madame Arbour has in the constitutional realm, which is crucial right now, and not by accident. I mean, when you think about the referendum situations in Alberta and Quebec right now, and Alberta has an even tanglier part of it, because we know it's got to be a constitution. It can't breach the Constitution, and there are Indigenous treaty rights that go back a long time and predate everyone else and all these other situations that would have to be looked at and settled and figured out before they could ever consider whether or not separation could be legitimized or even constitutional. So there's who better to be in that position to handle that. So it won't be just a figurehead welcoming dignitaries and just being superficial. It's going to be very interesting to see how Prime Minister Carney leverages the experience of Madame Arbour around the world. It'll be interesting to see where he dispatches her first, for example, because we know he spent quite a bit of time now. He has spent quite a bit of time, working, if you will, working the EU and other EU non-EU countries for, as we try to diversify trade and other relations as the world keeps changing. And we can get into the Iran war quagmire if we want to. I'm not really sure. And, just quickly, I'm not really sure what to make of the revelation yesterday that Jerome Kennedy and Byrne Coffey have been doing legal work on the MOU since January, apparently. So call it a revelation, because it was only revealed by the Premier yesterday, 4 months later, in responses to reporters' questions, not inside the House. So without further ado, I'm not going to belabor all those issues. As I have said, if we have callers, we're going right to them. And the Deputy Premier is certainly a caller that we welcome to the program. Barry Pettin, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Brian. How are you?
How are you? Thanks very much for making time, especially early on. I know you got meetings after 10 o'clock. So, welcome to the program.
No, thanks for having me, and congratulations on your permanent appointment. the chair. So yeah, good luck to you.
Thanks very much. I will lean on you for all the courteousness. Oh, so much meat on the bone. First of all, can you shed a little light? I know the Premier announced this yesterday, but why not announce? Why not come out long before now and say that Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Coffey were doing this work on the MOU?
I don't think it's anything being kept away from the public, to be honest, Brian. I think it's more about evolving. It was some talks, and it hasn't been that long, really. It's been some talks, and you're waiting for the review to be complete, and where to go and what to do and what have you. So I think it's more about this has come the right time because the report was just released Thursday. When it's getting its scrub done, legal scrub and whatever got to be done, and let the panel answer some questions on the 19th. I don't think it's a bad move to announce it as time goes on. I don't think we're in any rush. We shouldn't rush this stuff. I think we need to make sound decisions, and I think that we're when it comes to the MOU and Churchill Falls, I think it's our power. Quebec wants our power, we know that, and we shouldn't be guided by any threats or no matter what government changes in Quebec. I think we need to make sound decisions, and these take time, and we should never rush the decisions. They're too important, and we've lived for 50, 60, 70 years now with the Upper Churchill since '69, and we need to get this right, and whatever time it takes, I don't think it'll be a waste of time, and I think at the end of the day we'll all be better off for that. Yeah,
far be it for me now to second guess the qualifications of Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Coffey. I know them both well. I know the work they've done over the years. Certainly qualified and competent lawyers. Mr. Kennedy mostly in criminal realm, and of course he's got that experience as the Natural Resources Minister when Muskrat was sanctioned, so he has that as well. But beyond that, and I'm not going to second guess their work. I'm sure they're capable, and it's not about that for me right now, because again, we'll see what happens, and I'm sure the work they do will be important work. Are they being paid?
That's a good question, and I would assume most expect to be paid, and I think they would be paid at that. But I'd be totally honest with you, I haven't got to the weeds at that point, but I would assume there's be some cost come to lawyers, and I think they would expect to be paid like anyone else. So I'm assuming they would be, but to give a definitive, I wouldn't be able to. But there's one thing I just want to add to two of them, because that wasn't the reason I called. Actually, I had another issue, but you got in my mind, two brilliant minds. The pool is not deep out there to have people with their expertise, their knowledge, their understanding of hydroelectricity in this, there's not a lot of them. During the January debate, original debate back when it was the first MOU was signed, and we debated in the House, we looked for expertise advice. We wanted that advice to educate us, to help us along the way, to make, to put up I think a strong debate, which I think we did present a good debate. We used Burn Coffey. Burn Coffey was one of the ones that we used, one of the main people. And ironically, Burn Coffey, if you look at his background politically, Burn Coffey had a liberal background. That wasn't why we picked him. We picked him because he was a known expert in the field. He had deep knowledge, and we've seen that firsthand.
Who has also, though, expressed opposition to the MOU.
Well, we can go to the other side with that, Brian. They picked Dennis Brown, who supported the MOU the day it was signed, and he was chairing he was heading the review panel. So I think that can go both ways. But the thing with it is that this time around, he's going to review it. Now I'm assuming if he's going to have problems with this one, he's going to express those as well. But that's not what that's what we want. This has been an independent review, and we want these independent minds to tell us if it's good or bad, because it's not up for me or Premier Wakeham or anyone else, to say we need to get that advice till we get it right for the people in this province, because that's ultimately what this is all about, is in the best interest of people in this province. That was their mission, that was the terms of reference, and that's what they hopefully carried out, and we'll see when we get it in 19th, we all see it, that's what it's done. So whatever it says, and people can have their view, and they can debate at that time, but that was their terms of reference, and I sure hope that's how they viewed it, and I have no doubt they did.
And I know you did call about something else. One last thing, and I just want to reiterate the issue, like when we look at Dr. Des Whalen, who was hired as a special advisor in the Premier's office, that also was not announced. It was kept under, it required an ATIPA request, a media information request, to find out that he was being paid through the MCP wallet, and $275,000 a year. You know, so this was another one that had to come out after the word. We had to look into it, a media request. It wasn't announced right away. I mean, the thinking is, if there's nothing to see here, why not just come out and say it? I mean, you had to know. Communications, you've got great communications people there. A lot of them come from the journalism realm. They know how things work. They expect questions. That's what they plan for. To not see that this might cause a little bit of consternation and might be some even galling for some people, was that not foreseen?
Well, I don't know really, Brian. That's the way that's the lens we're putting on it. I think we make those decisions that we think they're sound decisions, and when the time's right, we'll communicate it. But I don't think there's anything untoward happening behind the scenes. That's not the way we operate, and anyone that know the way internally the way we operate, that's not it. We have great communications, no doubt about it. But we communicate and we feel the time is right, and now whenever the time is right, it is right. And I mean, as for Des Well, he was like any other staff person they are on, whatever mechanism he's being paid. I mean, you don't go out. I mean, staff are hard every day, and it's one of those things that he was hard and he had a job doing. He's doing that job quite well, and we move on. I mean, that's for Jerome Kennedy and Byrne Coffey. I think they'll bring a lot of expertise to the table, and for the benefit of the people of the province. But in that right, I hope that they carry out the duties. We'll all be better for it. Isn't
the time right though when they are appointed? I mean, you just said we announce it when the time is right. Shouldn't it be when they're appointed? For transparency, for openness and transparency.
I mean, that can be a viewpoint, but I don't think there was any rush to announce anything till you were ready to. What would be the purpose to announce it last month? To give people a month to try to poke holes in their character and their resumes and their abilities and their past. Now we're ready to report come out on the 19th. Now we're ready to move to the next phase. Therefore, here you go. Here's two people we're going to have to help review, go over the report and implement the report, or do the review, whatever is required. Next steps. So now it's time to announce it. So I think it's perfect timing.
Okay. There's so much more there, but yeah, I know. I appreciate you taking those questions right off the top. Your issue right away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get too sidetracked, but important issues.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so Brian, I'm calling in today. I know there's been some noise being made by municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, and some municipalities actually on the municipal infrastructure program. Some changes we made to the program in this recent budget, and changes that were made, they were precipitated by the program needed to be revamped, and I think we all knew it. So upon entering this office, taking on this role, I asked for a review. I wanted to analysis of the municipal infrastructure program. And when I got the raw, uncensored view, I wanted to tell them tell me what's what. Don't sugarcoat it. And what I seen was quite alarming. There was no guidelines, there was no parameters, there was no formulas. It was, we're looking at in excess of $100 million a year, and more than that a lot of times. I mean, a lot of this was cost-shared money with the federal government, what have you. They were going out to municipalities. There was no guidelines. So one aspect of it is multi-year capital works that always went to the 7 largest municipalities. That's the way it was always designed. Mm-hmm. And there was no formula. It was just given to them 7. They were never done in basis of population or size. St. John's always got the most, and then I think Mount Pro was second. And anyway, so
per capita thing, yeah.
I could never get an answer on why. So when I got the review, it was gone from 7 to 22. And so this is supposed to be 7 large municipalities. Now they have gone to 22. And one of the communities in that list were at 1,600 people. I knew then there was a problem.
Yep.
There was no guidelines. There was no parameters. You're only supposed to be a multi-year capital works or municipal capital works. You can't get funds from both. We had municipalities getting it from both. So there was no guideline. If the minister, they wanted to give them money, they picked towns, they give it to them at a boat pots. I knew then that was ripe for the picking for an AG, and if anyone knows me, the way I operate, I could not let that go because it's not right. It's my responsibility as minister to, public expenditure money is very important, and it's a responsibility that I take very seriously. And so I asked staff then, we need to fix this. So they went back actually and done a review, and along the way we come to the conclusion that we do the 22. We'd go back to 7 largest municipalities, the 10,000 plus populations would be in that seven largest based on 10,000 or more people, and to be done on a formula driven by per capita, per person. So it's $230 per person, whatever that turns out to be, it turns out. So we got 7 of them now based on population from 1 to 7. That's the way they're getting. That's the way to get their multi-year capital works. Unfortunately, Mount Pearl were getting too much realistically based on this formula, and they've seen the biggest reduction in that 7. So that's unfortunate, but that's the reality, and that's how we come to arrive at that decision.
Dave Aker on line 1. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he may be.
But Minister,
part 2 of it, where M&L seems to have a big problem is.
Can I just interrupt just one sec?
They never,
Minister?
They weren't part of the decision making and what have you. Now they sent a letter yesterday that I'll leave that where it's to. I'm not going to go. I'll take the high road. They weren't impressed. They just put out a release today on as well, just this morning. Mm-hmm. And their question, they weren't consulted. They never had no input and what have you. And they do agree that it needs to be reformed. But anyway, they feel they were left out. Now I did meet with them several months ago, and I made myself available after several attempts. We got together. I told them I was reviewing it, and it needed to be changed. Pre-budget, we met with them. Senior officials met with them, went over the changes with them, give them an advance for notice. But we're open to M&L coming in and meeting and offering their solutions, because a lot of things they're concerned about, we're still working towards. We're only in part 1 of a probably 4 or 5 part process to get this fixed, because we have a lot of issues within small municipalities. Does not have the capability of dealing with a lot of this funding. That's a lot of the problem. They're not getting the money out the door because they don't have the in-house ability or the actual financial ability to get consultants in to do the work. It's a lot of duplication of services. There's a lot, doesn't have the ability like a bigger community like a CBS or a Mount Pearl or St. John's. And that's the reality they face. But we're government, we're expecting them to have that capacity, and they don't have it. And we need to find a way to help them, whether we do it from a provincial standpoint or we find ways to help municipalities get the money out the door. And it's better for the communities, obviously, to get this work done. Whether it's water and sewer, it's municipal infrastructure in their towns, and they all need this, but we have to find a way to help them. So we're in the process. We have an internal committee in the department working on those solutions, and we're looking for input. As recently as last week, I met with a director of public works in one of the 7 larger communities, and she gave me some advice at another event, and I'm going to invite her in for further conversation with our officials to get her take.
Minister, can I ask you a quick question? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I've gotten 6 minutes over my break, and I'm getting fists forced. I'll give you just real quick. I wanted you to finish. Can we take a quick break and then just 2 more minutes with you, and then we'll be done with you by 9:30? Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, great. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Okay, saving me from the hook here. Quick break, and we'll be right back with the Minister. And welcome back to the program. We're here with Barry Petton, the Deputy Premier, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Minister of Public Procurement, and the Deputy Premier, I think I already said that, the MHA for Conception Bay South. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to give you full rein. Go for it, to let you finish. I'm so sorry I had to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine, Brian. I understand fully.
Give her.
So just wanted to finish up. So in the process, we're with the municipal capital works now. So when we had 22 in the multi-year, which they weren't, there was only supposed to be 7, and we took the 15 out. They historically used $7.5 million a year in infrastructure funding. That's what they used. So what we've done is we've moved them into the municipal capital works funding, which they can apply year over year for various projects.
Right.
So we've actually doubled the pot there. So now it's $20 million as opposed to what it used to be. So what they've done is they only use $7 million. So instead we've put them back there, but instead of bringing $7 million back, when we put $10 million, so we've doubled the funding, which should help all other municipalities that are receiving municipal capital works. I know there's been some concern raised that there's more towns got to fight over whatever monies. That's not the case. They've actually increased the funding there. And there's another thing municipalities need to realize too. We have a lot of infrastructure money, federal, provincial infrastructure money coming from the federal government. They've been very aggressive on getting infrastructure out. Money's out, and we also have to have them funding coming. And we got another Build Canada Strong Fund that's got a lot of monies in it. So any concern municipalities may have out there, I think that rest assured we're aware of them and they should be fine. As for municipalities NL, they sent a pretty aggressive letter, and they're coming out today, and they're coming against me, I guess, and our government. That's fine. Like I said, I will take the high road on all of that. I don't get down in the gutter. I welcome them to come in anytime they want, meet with us. express any issues they have. We're open to suggestions. Like I said, I'm taking anyone out there got any way of improving any program we have, for that matter, and anything in my department. I'm always open to that discussion. And M&L, obviously, I mean, they represent all municipalities, and my door is always open, and our officials are always, ready if they want to come in and help us and have some input. Now, absolutely. But and most of the things they express to me, the concerns, we're working on those things, and I think that I just need to get that message to all municipalities that our doors open, and we're willing to work with them and whoever else, for that matter, that want to offer some advice or some concerns, because infrastructure in our municipalities is where we all live. That's really where it's all to. Mm-hmm. It's very important to us, the government, and us as a province, that we support our municipalities, and in the infrastructure and in many other things. In my department here, it's road work, it's marine. I mean, we touch every infrastructure, every building. I look after schools and school buses, you name it. Not much this department don't touch throughout this province, and I do take it very seriously, and as a commitment I made when you take this office. And I want to make sure you make the best decisions for the people that we're affecting, which affects most everyone in the province. And so we're open to and if anywhere along the way we made a mistake and we never consulted with someone here or there, I'll take full responsibility for that. But it's never too late to fix that. So if the people got any concerns, feel free to reach out. But I think at the end of the day, our municipal capital works program, our municipal infrastructure program will be better for years down the road, and I think it's going to be done in a more fair, transparent manner now. I think everyone will benefit as time goes on. Change is always a little difficult, but I think it's a good thing and it's a needed thing in this case.
Yep, as you just said, the key word is communication, and as you said, if there's anyone who's been left out of the process, which we hope have not. And it's unfortunate that sometimes it devolves into, the back and forth and the nasty releases, and as you said, in the gutter, and people having to take the high road. It's unfortunate, but a lot of it, as we all know, is when you get out in front of stuff. These days, the communication, and accurately done and timely, is, and on legitimate sources, as opposed to just social media, that is the key and the crux. I appreciate all the time you gave us here today, Minister. 20 minutes is more than I could have asked for, Deputy Premier. And there's a raft of issues. We know there's hard work being done behind the scenes. Unfortunately, some of these other stories percolate to the top and have to be addressed as well, and there's always going to be controversy, and I know you're no stranger to that.
No. We're here. We take the job seriously, and we're committed to doing what we think is right, and we're going to benefit the people of the province. And I thank you for your time, and like I said, good luck. Yes,
thanks again. Really appreciate the time. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Thanks very much. All right, that is the Deputy Premier, Barry Petton, and the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, of course. Okay, we're going to take that next break, and after the break, former Mayor of St. John's, Doc O'Keefe, after the break. And welcome back to the show. Right to line number 2, and Dennis O'Keefe, you're on the air.
How are you this morning, Brian?
I'm doing great. I felt the first warm, truly legitimate warm breezes late yesterday afternoon, and I know they're coming today, so I can't wait.
Unbelievably good, isn't it?
Oh, my God. Emerging from the, whatever you want to call that last winter, I'm all over it.
Yeah, just to feel that warm air brush by as you walk along makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, being an avid walker, and near-death survivor yourself, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind?
No, life is good. You got to enjoy it while you can.
Yes, sir. I couldn't agree more.
Brian, two things I wanted to talk to you about this morning. Really, when I waited yesterday, there was only one, but while I was waiting, I was listening to your conversation with Rob Strong on Equinor and where that was headed.
On the Bay to Nord agreements.
And I mean, Rob is a great guy. He's experienced. He has
finger on the pulse.
What's going on with the offshore and with Bay to Nord in particular. And it brought me back a few years ago when I was really active at the time in lobbying for the approval of Bay to Nord, and we weren't getting anywhere with it in Ottawa. We had to deal with characters like Justin Trudeau and Stephen Guilbeault, and they were determined really to delay, or at least with the environmental assessment, put a dagger in its heart. And we weren't getting any real support from Newfoundland Labrador Liberal MPs or Seamus O'Regan, who was our minister at the time. And put it this way, public opinion as to whether or not Equinor would be given the go-ahead was really down in the probably 10%, 15% of people.
Well, we remember when they dropped the bombshell at the Energy NL conference. I mean, the timing of that just took the wind right out of everyone's sails.
Yeah, and it all had to do with that environmental assessment, which the government of Newfoundland Labrador under Dwight Ball had given up having final approval on the environmental assessment then and in the future. So the bottom line was things look pretty dark, and now we're out of the fog, back into sunlight, and it looks like a development like Bay du Nord, which is going to be so important to the financial condition and the economic conditions in Newfoundland Labrador, looks like it's on a positive track, and we're going to do very well, thank God.
Well, we believe so. I mean, not sanctioned yet, but by all indications and the kind of early work that they're putting into this, and of course the benefits agreements and royalty agreements, if you go through them, there is a lot of work gone into this stuff that at this point, and the trajectory, of, the switch off, if you will, and I don't want to say switch off, but if you want to, tailing back on the green, because we realize now, given the times we're in, and nobody really could have predicted, although Mr. Trump certainly gave all the hints. You say one thing for him, he's like Sam the Record Man. He said it, he did it, because we can't. We ignored what he said before he was elected at our peril, and here he is doing everything that he said he would do. We just never believed it would come to this. But I mean the change is the reliance, the importance that we can't just turn off the taps right now because it's so needed, so necessary around the world, and the timing of the flip. Because eventually we're going to have to do something. The timing has just been upended completely.
Well, at least now it's out of government hands. The government approvals are in. And now it's up to the province of Newfoundland and Newfoundland Labrador and Equinor to get it going.
Are you okay with the trade-off as far as the $200 million, the floating dry dock talk in exchange for procurement of topsides? I mean, look, they're going to allow bidding to anybody, but I think the consensus is that kind of heavy topside work can't be done in this province. I mean, I'm just saying that seems to be the perception.
Yeah, and I think the province is going to get whatever benefits they can get in terms of how much of the project can be done here in Newfoundland Labrador, and balance that off with the revenues that will accrue to Newfoundland Labrador at a time that we are really in need of those and any other revenues. Hopefully everything will work out.
Hopefully, indeed, because there's a lot to be gained, and the question is, do we delay it too long? Do we, not delay it too long? Well, we know it was put on the back burner, not by us, but by Equinor. But that has switched, and they've seen the light, and they've done their, important work. I mean, look, they did a lot of work reorganizing their project from a gravity-based talk, and then quickly realizing that just was not going to be feasible, and it would have to be a tieback system. So you have the floating FPSO, and now as we know, as from my conversation yesterday with Rob Strong, and as we have been told already, that a lot of the local work is going to come from that subsea work, the surf work as they refer to it. So look, it's great just to get it moving. We can argue about the nuances of whether or not it's a better deal, and on and on and on it goes. The longer we do that, as with Churchill Falls, the longer we lose out. And we won't miss deadlines with Equinor now, because at least, as you said, the government, it's been signed off. But the MOU on Churchill is another big question mark as to the longer we delay it, do we miss the boat?
Yeah, the other thing, Brian, that I really want to mention, because it's really important to consumers of oil and gas right across Newfoundland Labrador, and that is the role of the PUB and the way they do their adjustment, which now is every day. And I got to go back briefly to June of 24. At that time, PUB was doing a review of the petroleum products pricing. And they did a very good review, and they opened it for public comment. So I put together a presentation and appeared before the PUB that made a number of recommendations. And one of them in particular addressed when the price adjustment would be made public. At that time, it was every Thursday, then it became every Friday. Mm-hmm. Now it's every day. So the way the system works now is that the PUB will notify at roughly about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a day prior to the adjustment, the PUB will notify the industry. And that's acceptable because the industry needs to know to get ready for the price and change the price at the pumps and all that sort of thing. So I can see an advance adjustment for them. There's also then a price release same day to the media at 8 o'clock in the evening. And that is fine, except the media has there's an embargo there that they are not allowed to make it public until after midnight. So the only one left out of any adjustment process is the consumer. And because of that, the consumer right now, given the volatility of the market, the consumer has really they're cut out of the process, and they can't get a break on the price either of furnace oil or on gas or on diesel or on anything. They can't get a break on furnace oil because, again, you have to wait until midnight, and if you found out that at midnight or next morning even that the price of furnace oil was going to go down 20 cents a litre, so you would run to the phone and maybe call your oil company and order 400 litres of furnace oil. And they take your order, and you think you're going to get that cut. But nowadays, most of these oil companies will take 2 or 3 days to get you that delivery. Mm-hmm. And so you're cut out of that in terms of getting a break.
And
when it comes to gas and diesel and so on, you're really cut out of that too, because you don't find out the price until after midnight. And my recommendation to the PUB is that wasn't fair to the consumer. If you can notify the industry at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to notify the media at 8 o'clock or 8:30 that night of the price change. Why can't you do the same for the consumer? Again, do it when you do it for the media. Do it at 8:30 at night.
Now, Dennis,
then the price will change at midnight, and all the next day the price is up, and the oil companies and so on are happy because they're getting the higher rate. And the
Dennis,
consumer is getting a little bit of a break because he or she can get in their car at 9:30 if they want, mm-hmm. and go and fill up the tank, right, and get a break. Mm-hmm.
And Dennis, only because we're right on the break, I just wanted to say, you're right. I mean, it would be nice to know. And there are questions we always have. And I'm not going to go on ad nauseum about how we don't have anyone from the pub to come on the show and just give us communications, a layman's breakdown of why they can't do that. And again, I know I've been on them before, and they're rolling their eyes just fine. But it just helps. It'll just, as I was speaking to Barry Pettin earlier, it just helps in terms of communication. You know, just a little explainer. I've been told before a technical version of why they do it the way they do it. But, a spokesperson to come on and laymanize it for people on these complicated topics and ones that matter to us. It matters now more than ever because the price of gas and the price of fuel, as it continues to creep upward due to the war, now it really matters. It mattered before. For some people, it was just a frustration that they couldn't know that the price of gas was going up the next day. Now it matters. Literally. There are people going around with the gas light on most of the day, just trying to stretch it out as far as they can. I know, because I do it. Unnecessary.
30 seconds, Brian.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll let you go, because I got to tell you this. At the time, the pub said to me, no, we can't give early warning of the adjustment to the consumer because, get this, because there might be a run on the pumps. And I said to them at the time, don't be ridiculous. I mean, everybody in the province is not going to get up at 10 o'clock at night and run out and fill up their tank. or diesel or whatever it may be. Some will, but at least you're giving some consumers a break, and that's really important now. And the pub can do that now if they wish. They can start this week and give an early warning, maybe 9:30 or 9 o'clock at night, at the same time they give it to the media, and let consumers know they got a 2 or 3 hour little break where they can run out and get gas if they want to.
Yep. The only problem is, of course, where it changes every day now, they'll find that probably even more taxing and onerous and administratively taxing. Who knows? Dennis, look,
yeah, but I mean, come on.
I know.
We all
Hey,
know
I'm just being the devil's advocate.
They could do that if they wanted to do it, and the consumers would get a bit of a break, and that's important now.
I couldn't agree more. Dennis Keefe, always appreciate it. Thanks so much for the call. We'll talk heritage next time we get you on.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Take care. All right. That is former Mayor of St. John's, Dennis O'Keefe. Let's take a break. Right back with Luke Quinton, Historic Trust NL, right after the break. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 5. And Luke Quinton, the president of NL Historic Trust, you're on the air.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for making time for the program. Luke, I guess we'll talk specifically, of course, about the vote of council yesterday. I guess you were watching it. This is regarding a couple of 100-year-old structures right there, say, across from the ship laneway, the west of the Royal Trust building. This is 157 to 163, I think. These are a couple old buildings. They're at least 100 years old. One is late 1800s. The other one is early 1900s. They have an owner of the building that wants to renovate it and do some work on it. They did a report that decided that it was just, it couldn't be saved. There was, quote unquote, no life left in the building or the buildings. And so a demolition permit became before council, and then it went off the rails. It got deferred, and then it got pushed to a next meeting, and on and on and on it went. Last night, it finally pushed past the line, I guess. There was a motion to rescind the demolition permit. Didn't make it through. A vote of 8-2. Council rejected that, and now it appears that the demolition can go ahead. I think they said, the owners have said, as early as the fall. What's your take on all this, Luke? I know I've seen comments that you said at least deeply disappointed. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. I mean, whenever a building of that age, comes up for demolition, I mean, we never want to see that. That's the last thing we want to see. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing all around. I mean, not to point fingers or anything, but I think every time these things come up, it's sort of a surprise to, people in the city that, a building like that could be, knocked down. And I think we need the city to get on board with heritage. We need the city to take these things more seriously.
Were you surprised? I mean, the experts panel that they have, the Built Heritage Experts panel, they seem to, they washed their hands of it. They said, no, we agree with the owner and the developer. And I know it wasn't unanimous, though. There were people on the Built Heritage panel, I understand, that weren't all that happy with this either. And you made a presentation before council yourself. So to see them go the other direction, look, we have very few left. It's all the same things have been said, when people come to see these historic buildings, to see, our history, and this goes for the Battery as well. So, on a bigger picture, does it give you pause, and is it disheartening? How would you describe it?
For sure. We don't really see heritage as being a huge barrier to development. I mean, what we were asking for and what I asked for in the private meeting was that, heritage designates the facade, which is basically the brick, and stone of the building on the left, which is number 157. I mean, that's a really, really low bar. Most other cities consider facade designation to be, the last option, right? The lowest hanging fruit. So,
yeah, because it's just a facelift. If we can't do
that, it's concerning.
It's literally just a facelift. I mean, the rest of the building, and people have talked about when you come into the Narrows to see the back of it, that's not very pleasing to the eye right now either. So, I mean, but even that, and I think that was Deputy Mayor Ellsworth's point, he wanted to see if there's any way the city could hold them to that. The facade and, of course, that historic little tunnel that everybody uses to access the harbourfront, the charm of that, and the charm of all of our heritage heritage buildings. I mean, we call ourselves the oldest city in North America, Water Street the oldest street in North America, and yet these buildings can't be saved. And I know it comes down to money, because as we pointed out, there have been other buildings that, you know, if the owners aren't going to take it and they're just going to let it go, the city has to do something. And do we invest our own money to upkeep it, like the Gentera building or others, or do we rely on them and just give them leeway to do whatever they can afford?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can give them a carte blanche. Like, I want to hear how the deputy mayor thinks that, you know, they're going to enforce any kind of reconstruction of this building that looks like it belongs here, you know? Like, what's the mechanism for that? I think designation was the mechanism. I mean, we're waiting for an answer from staff about how that would have worked. I don't, you know, just because the building is designated doesn't mean it can never be repaired. And I mean, if we're talking about a repair or, you know, putting it back to a more workable condition, you know, that's, I don't see how that the designation hurts that. So, you know, if the system isn't working, I mean, they should change the system. But yes, I agree with all of that. I mean, it's, the heritage regs should be working with a growing and developing city. You know, I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. And frankly, I've heard, you know, I mean, I have high hopes that this could possibly be a good project in the end, but I think it's weird to have council sort of afraid of their own regulations, frankly. You know, we shouldn't really be, you know, like, they should work hand in hand with new development. And frankly, you know, we've heard all kinds of, one of the weird things about this is that, you know, you could bring one engineer's report to council and then that could be the basis of a demolition. You know, that makes me feel a little uneasy. If I was on council, I would be a little concerned that, you know, I've got only one source of information telling me that it's okay to demolish. You know, as we know in the past, I mean, developers have literally shopped around to different architects and people to get some sort of approval for their building to be condemned or demolished or whatever. So they're looking for justification. I'm not saying that's what's happening in this case, and the report could be accurate, but, you know, it just doesn't. Does the city have a mechanism to say, actually, this building is in good shape, and no, we don't think you should demolish it? I mean, that's you know, that's the kind of conversation we need to be having. Well, we need a council who just says, look, these are important buildings to our streetscape, to the way our city looks. That doesn't mean we have to be afraid of any kind of development. I mean, we were only asking for them to designate the left building. You know?
I know.
There's the whole other building on the right-hand side that, you know, we said, look, that's already had too many modifications. So, you know, do your best, but, you know, we can't ask you to designate that one.
Yeah, there was also a feeling on council that this particular owner and developer, you know, they've done other buildings downtown, good work downtown, and it almost seems like it's not just about these two now, it's about the work they've done before. So we, you know, give them some credit for that towards these projects because of the, you know, they put in before. But look, we're right at the news. I'll give you just a couple of seconds to wrap up. Again, I appreciate the call. Where do you think it goes from here? You're not done. Are you still waiting for an answer from council?
Well, we're going to listen to staff and see what exactly the next step would be. Sorry, I guess I'm outside here.
Yeah, no, it's good.
You know, like how do we recreate some sort of, like, some on council think that we're going to have this heritage facade preserved just sort of by magic. I'm like, what's the mechanism?
Yeah.
What's on paper, you know, in the bylaws to do that? Like, what does that process look like? Because I think if we just throw up our hands and say, well, we can't do anything, I think that's the wrong approach. So, you know, let's enforce this stuff. Let's see what happens.
Yep, they have the rules and regs to do it, and the know-how, and the experience down there. Even though there may be some newer councillors on council. Luke Quinton, the president of NL Historic Trust. I really appreciate you making time for the program. Thank you, and this ain't going away anytime soon. If not this development, others.
For sure. Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Okay, Dave, let's get off to that news break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the show. Let's go right to lines are just lit up like a Christmas tree here, which is great to see. Let's go to line number 5, and Bob Buckingham, you're on the air.
Hi, Brian. I'm glad it's not Christmas.
I hate to even make that. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I said, ugh. And we were talking Christmas trees in the oil and gas fields yesterday. That's another one. So, but listen, we're not talking about Christmas here now. Although, who knows? You know, if you get a great settlement out of this, there could be some gifts in, I wouldn't say in a good way, because this is all very unfortunate. And this is the proposed class action filed against Canada Life over the data breach identified in April. Can you tell us? I know it can be convoluted, but given the little time we have on the air, how's your best executive summary?
I'll keep, as we used to say back in my day, Cole's notes, Brian, but that's dating me.
You got it.
Well, back in April, there was a breach of privacy of 70,000 people by information held by Canada Life. A hacker accessed information through one of their staff. Emails, we understand, was able to get in and steal information from people, about 70,000 people across the country. And, the information included, personal information, mailing addresses, dates of birth, their gender, earnings information, insurance plan details, and employee identification numbers, all sorts of things of that nature that can be used to, essentially, in the modern day of digital information, create other personas of people.
How many would be affected in this province, Bob?
Hard to say. We don't know. They haven't released that information, but we're looking at in the thousands, of course. It would include people who are covered by Canada Life, and I think that's most provincial and federal government employees, and many individual employees as well. Individual employees of companies as well.
So how do you quantify the damage done and the award that would be awarded?
Well, an interesting question. And around the country, the courts have split on this, but we're suing in Newfoundland, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba because our legislation permits us at this time to do that on the basis of a privacy breach is actionable itself without proof of harm. In some of the other jurisdictions, the courts have taken the position that you have to prove actual harm from the use, or that the defendant was actually negligent. So, we have some legislation on that, and at the end of the day, who knows what it's going to be. Our first step is we have to get certified, and so if we can get through that, then we'll start getting into the harm question. And I think this is the purpose of class actions. We have to push these actions in this day and age. We have to make sure that governments and corporations don't become complacent, and people have to maintain their vigilance against and not let their guard down. Class actions is one of the ways of doing that.
Yeah, one thing about these, though, Bob, the company and they'll initially say, there's no evidence that anything has been used for, nefarious reasons or been used in any wrong way. But a lot of that sometimes, we don't know. Down the road it could, even post-settlement. So how do you... they always say that, but sometimes you don't even know if that's been accessed or not, or used in some other way, or copied and passed to a third or fourth party. I guess all of that is covered in the suit, eh?
Well, it will be, and so that's why we have to get through the certification stage first. Okay. And here's the situation. The question is not the misuse. The question is the accessing the information. Yeah. And so we need comprehensive privacy protection legislation with enforcement regimes and significant penalties. We don't have that. Class actions are the only ways of getting there. So we have to protect the privacy issue itself and the moral damages. People have to know that governments and corporations are not going to get lax in protecting their privacy. And so, as I keep saying to people, along with the power to collect that information goes the obligation to protect it. Mm-hmm. And our government and our corporations have fallen down on that hugely. For instance, I look at our cyber attack class action that's going on. So we have to protect people's privacy. And people can't, as I say, can't let their vigilance down. Sure. Class actions are one of the ways of bringing that about, and so that's why we pursue all these class actions here, both provincially and to get as many nationally as possible. We don't know what our courts are going to decide here, but my role here as a class action lawyer is to push these issues to the courts, and hopefully we'll see some cases here that have good decisions that we can use, that we can maintain nationally. And this Canada Life one is one of them.
Last question before I let go. It's been filed with the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador. Do you have a date for it to be heard and for the merits to be heard towards certification?
No, we're nowhere near that yet. The next step is to serve it on Canada Life. They retain counsel either up there on Bay Street and here, and then we'll have we'll set it down for a case management process. and that'll be managed by a judge who will be appointed here, and that judge will oversee it, move the matter ahead. And we're looking at a number of years, Brian, and but my firm is committed to this, and as it has been in the other class actions we had, started over the last 15 years.
Yeah, I've kind of lost track. But Bob, look, I appreciate it, all the hard work. Thanks for making time for the program, and we will check back as it progresses, especially towards certification. Thanks again for the time.
And listen, thanks for your interest in this one. Again, it's one more privacy breach that should be in the public forum, and people should be aware of it. Thanks a lot.
More and more every day. You're welcome. Thanks very much, Bob. All right, let's go right to line number 1. And Tina, you're on the air.
Oh, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
You're more than welcome. What's on your mind?
Okay, now I'm going to go off onto a bit of a rant. Maybe you can help me here.
Go for
okay?
it. Yep.
And it's got to do with this MyGov Newfoundland Health Services.
Okay.
I'm about to lose my mind with this app. You cannot get it signed into, you can't set it up, you can't do anything with it. I've been months at this. They send emails with codes, and it's not just one email. 8 or 10 will come in at one time with different codes. You try to put these codes in, they don't work. So, you got to send an email. I'm after sending 3 emails about this. No reply. So I Googled this morning, and a number popped up. So I called the number. The number is for a clinic on Pippi Place that has nothing to do with this. And all they can tell you is to send an email. Okay, so that's my first rant. Where is the phone number to talk to a human to get this fixed? No phone number. You can't send the email because they're not replying. That's my first rant. My second rant is about this core care. My mom is 73 years old and has to have blood work done by the 20th. She has to see a diabetic specialist, and this diabetic specialist won't see her unless her blood work is done. They're not taking any appointments till the 28th. Guess what? Her appointment is the 28th. Her doctor is not going to see her. This is getting ridiculous. That's my second rant. My third rant is I'm disabled, partially blind, and I have other health issues, and I'm a severe diabetic. I have to get supplies from Eastern Health. So one of my supplies is supposed to be this underwear. It's not underwear. I'm going to say right now, point blank, it's a G-string. It offers no protection. As soon as you move, it goes up your behind like a G-string. I am so sick of our government wasting money on their harebrained schemes that are not working. And don't even get me started on that new hub. Oh my God, it's closed more times than it's open. What are we supposed to do when we don't have any phone number to contact anybody to try to get any of this fixed?
Yeah, and
you have an answer.
There were big problems yesterday at the hub. I wish I had an answer, and I will say you're speaking for a lot of people at this moment, especially people. Look, there is a learning curve, if you want to call it that, and a procedure learning curve to all of this, whether it's for the health professionals under core care or the residents of this province trying to navigate the new My Health app and your My Chart and that sort of thing. I know exactly what you speak of when you're talking about the emails and the codes and that sort of thing. It can be tangly if the codes can come, or you can, if you get it at the right time and then they're being mailed out, and I got mine and it worked. I have access. I did it sort of right to the letter, but I have a pretty simple situation going on with the issues that you have health-wise and with your mom and yourself. I can't imagine. And getting a phone number, if you I'm just going to say this, they don't have time to get on the phone. That's why you can't find one. I mean, ultimately, they don't really want you on the phone. That ties up resources, and specific situations like yourself take a lot of background security to make sure they know who they're talking about. It's like when you call CRA, they want to know everything about your firstborn and everything else to know. And look, privacy and confidentiality is very important. So they're trying to balance the new system with the issues that we all are facing, privacy and confidentiality. As we just had Bob Buckingham on talking about the breaches in security, it is top of mind across the board right now. And trying to get your own issue solved and addressed, whether it's in person at the hub, and they had issues there yesterday. People were turning away as soon as they got there at 8 a.m. We are in a complete flux and changeover of health systems, and it's a big curve for everybody. I can't speak to your individual situation because I don't know all the intricacies. Like, I know that when I went through the My Health app, it worked for me. just because of the codes and that sort of thing. And I mean, sometimes the wrong email can be sent, but, to have a phone number and just someone who you can speak to is very helpful. I will say that. If you could just call a number.
I've been 8 months at this. 8 months.
8 months is too long.
Like, this is ridiculous.
8 months is way too long. Tina, look, I know the powers that be are listening. I don't know what else.
I hope they are.
I don't know what else I can tell you. I'm just so sorry for everything you're going through. You can always call. There's a Patient Connect NL line, of course. My Health NL support. I can give you an email and a number, the number that I have, and I don't know if it's the same number you've been calling. Do you got a pen or anything handy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so 811 is a general number, and that might work. Like if you get the right,
I call that, and they can't help me.
Okay, so try 833.
Okay.
913.
913. Okay.
4679.
4679.
Yep, and it's a 1, of course, so 1833. And Dave is just in my ear, and he said, call that. We're saying call that. If you have a problem with it, just give Dave a call back and let him know what happened. And if you're using email, I can give you that too.
Okay.
My Health NL support. Now, that's all one word, just the way you spell it. No ambiguity there. Okay. So, My Health NL support at nlhealthservices.ca.
Okay. I'll try that one because, I sent 3 emails and no response.
Yep.
And I'm at this 8 months.
8 months is too long. For not to be able to just get somewhere or even know what you're up against as opposed to still in the dark is unacceptable. It really is.
Every time I try, it tells me my information doesn't match what they have on file, or I'm getting the codes, they're not working.
Yeah.
And like I said, that number popped up when I Googled it, and the poor woman, like she said, we got nothing to do with this. We're a clinic here on Pippi Place. Why is that number there under that to call for questions? Like, it's ridiculous.
Tina, I got to get to the break, but I will just say this. If the information's not matching, that is probably the number one problem here because, for privacy and security, even if you don't have the same, MCP number is one thing, but if you have a different address or any kind of...
Nothing's changed. Everything's the same. I got no problem going to the hospital.
Okay.
Nothing like that. It's just that app, and nothing is working.
Try both of those. Try the number. Try the email one more time. Let Dave know how you make out, and we'll let everybody else know as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck. Okay, take care. All right, thanks, Tina. Yes, right on. I'd love to say right on the break, Dave. We have just been chock full here all morning, and we try not to give everyone short shrift. We've got Stephen coming up, wants to respond to Luke from the NL Historic Trust. We got Russell coming up on the MOU and syntax. And whatever you want to talk about, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Let's invite Russell to the line. And Russell, you're on the air.
Hey, Brian, you're doing a great job, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah. What I have to say eliminate all oil and gas discussions related to the public utility support, number 1. Number 2, eliminate all NLC stores and syntaxes. Number 3, eliminate the MOU discussions on open line and all media.
That's a lot of elimination.
Yeah. Just imagine all the discussions and work that's created by say fellows like Fred Hutton, all the supporters of the MOU. When Mr. Waken has clearly said we're going to have a referendum, and we're going to get a chance. Everyone's going to get a chance to look at it, and I welcome that opportunity.
Yeah, look, you know what? I understand what you're saying, Russell. I really do. There's a time and place, right?
And imagine how much work is created in the gas station every day. Just swinging, changing these little things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the administrative costs alone. So I've just running the...
I worked pumping gas when I was in grade, coming out of grade 11.
Mm-hmm.
We pumped 4,500 gallons one Sunday.
Where'd you pump? Where was the gas station?
K&S Gulf.
Whereabouts?
In Sill River. Up there as you go down the Briggets.
Oh, okay, gotcha now. Yeah, sorry. Did you say South River?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, I thought you said sewer. Oh, yeah, I know the area. Brigus area, down towards Mackelson's and North River and all that area.
Yeah. So say from if you left the gas station, you can go off the Ropes line.
Yep.
You could go on down to Mackelson's. You could go on down to Brigus, or you could go on down to Bay Roberts.
Or you can go on out the Hodgewater line back to Trans-Canada.
Yeah.
Which we did many a time as a kid. No, I'd say there's a lot of gas station owners.
Right?
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of gas station owners nodding their heads along with you right now.
Yes, and I'd like for all the gas stations and all the gas stations that are shut down that would probably be open if this was done. Like there's a gas station in Arbor Grace, gas station in Spaniards Bay, gas stations all over the place shut down.
Shut down. I mean, you have independent gas stations, but a lot of them are run by the big, they're fueled literally by the big players, of course. You got the Essos, the Irvings, and the North Atlantics.
And Western Petroleum.
And Western Petroleum, absolutely. Sorry, I shouldn't be so metrocentric here, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as far as the syntaxes go, I don't know where you go with that.
And still like people in my community going in the morning, say 9 o'clock when you can go buy liquor, picking up a 2-4, right?
Yeah.
And lots of friends of mine, they're drinking all the time, right?
Yeah, and I don't think
that money be going back into the economy.
Yeah, and I don't see the NLC disappearing anytime soon after they just rebranded it. Although,
but why don't you let anybody who wants to sell all NLC products or wherever they get them from in little stores?
Well, they do have it in some. They have the express stores going on, right, where NLC have presence in some various convenience stores around town too. Well, not even around town, more on the outskirts, right? You have up in Shea Heights, up in Paradise.
How much? Like you're not going to eliminate the big brewery there in St. John's. They'll just sell more product.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the brewery's the brewery. I live right next to one, actually. Love the smell of the hops in the afternoon, but it brings you right back to high school.
I almost took a job at engineering in a brewery.
So it could have been a dream job like Norm on Cheers, hey?
Yeah.
If you remember that.
Yeah, but then again, we got to look after our health and try to take care of ourselves, right?
Absolutely, and look, and that's what it's all about. It's about the coffers, and it's about filling the coffers with the taxes, and also trying to wean people off bad habits. But if it's not illegal, you're going to have to leave it to people to understand that moderation is the key in all of these things.
Say when I grew up, eliminate the sin taxes. Marijuana is basically legal now. People can grow marijuana. When I grew up, was no problem to get cocaine, no problem to get acid, right?
Yeah,
it was there all the time. Yeah, but I just never did it.
Yeah, I mean, sin taxes are a big part of the government coffers. I mean, they're going to continue to.
Yeah, but the only thing is, what'll happen to the government coffers would double.
You know what? It's an interesting concept, and only because it's the bottom of the hour, and I got to get to the break. I got to get going. You want to wrap up, Russ?
Yeah, it opens discussions to all the people out there in VOCM, right?
Absolutely. That's what Open Line's for. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, man, thanks for the call.
I think all the employees in liquor stores can take it over if they want.
They'll put their own consortium. You could have a co-op, maybe. Co-op liquor stores. There's a thought. We'll throw that out there for the edification of the public. Russell, thanks for the call, man. I'm always appreciating different ideas and different thoughts. You never know. People could latch on.
I got to talk to you someday about hydrogen production and windmills.
Yeah, the stalled hydrogen production. Absolutely. Anyway, we'll get to that next time. Thanks for the call.
All right.
Okay, take care. All right, Russ. That was Russell. Dave, let's take that break and come back with Dave. And let's see, we've got Eddie in the queue, Walter Harding, Ross going to talk food, fishery, and Stephen wants to respond to Luke Quinton of Historic NL Trust. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Let's go right to line number one. Eddie Joyce, the independent MHA for Humber Bay of Islands. You're on the air.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Sorry I couldn't make it yesterday.
No, that's quite okay. Did you get a chance to hear the comments from Brad Evoy with the Halibu Mi'kmaq? First Nation?
No, but I understand that the Halapu is in agreement with this removal plan that they put in place.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, we're talking about the removal plan for the MSC Baltic 3, which has been grounded in Cedar Cove there on the west coast in the Bay of Islands since February of last year, almost Valentine's Day. So there is a plan, Eddie, and they, obviously good for business, but you don't think so much for the environment. Can you explain why?
First of all, I'd like to commend the Coast Guard and the MSC group, the residents, the church group who supplied the meals, and the town council and everybody who chipped in since last February to ensure that there's no life lost, there's no major environmental concerns there.
Hear, hear.
So this is a feat by all the residents in the town, and MSC was very open and other things with it. So I just got to recognize that, and the Coast Guard did a great job. There was a technical briefing last Friday. I couldn't make it because I had a prior commitment over to a school in Meadows, and I spoke to a few people after that. The concerns, and I understand that the town council of Lark Harbour is in agreement with most of or all of the removal, and it is a tough decision. But the question that's coming to me from people is they're going to blast some rock near or on Cedar Cove, and the question is, and this is what I've been expressing, is how much rock removal and what part of Cedar Cove, and have the permits been put in place? This is what residents have been asking me and publicly saying. So there was a briefing, but it was limited. It wasn't a public meeting to explain all the information. So that is the concerns that I've been asking, and I have been speaking to the MSC group, and they will be getting me a copy of exactly where and how much rock is going to be taken away from that area to build the road out to the Baltic 3. And the other thing, the question is, will it be trucked or will it be barged? If it was, because most of the material is going to end up, if not all, is going to end up in Steveville.
With Newco, I think, yeah.
With the barge, you can put it on the barge, float it over, and then unload it at the dock over in Steveville. If it's going to be trucked, we're talking about 2,000 to 2,500 trucks. So this is the other issue that people are asking, because you're going through school zones, you're going through 50, 60 kilometers of a road in rural Newfoundland and Labrador. And these are some of the concerns that has been expressed to me. And as I always do, if people express concerns, I will try to get them answers. I have always said, and I still repeat it, that if there was a public meeting in Lark Harbour so we all could sit down and get the answers and have it, a lot of these things would have been taken care of. But from my understanding, they had a technical briefing with the town, and I was invited to the Halapu, that the people who weren't there, you are asking these types of questions. So my goal here is to get the information for the people who are asking the questions publicly on Facebook and to other people that were at the briefing. So am I against the removal of the Baltic 3? Absolutely not. But I want to ensure that all the concerns that people from Lark Harbour and York Harbour have expressed are looked at and hopefully brought to an attention that they're going to be mitigated, the concerns that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. So the devil will be in the details. And like almost every other topic here today on the show, Eddie, and unusual and mostly on most days, it's the issue of communication and lack of information and consultation and all these sorts of things. Now, again, you said they did have the technical briefing. You had another obligation, perfectly understandable. But have you been assured that you will get all the devil that's in the details and how they're going to do it? Because I'm with you. The roads can't take that. Those trucks with that kind of weight. And so, the concern, I guess, looks like we totally dodged a bullet with the vessel. No environmental damage. It would be an absolute shame and a sin if we actually did some damage just to get rid of it.
to give it. And I've been talking to representatives from the MSC yesterday, and they are seeking the information. And I may even take them up on the offer and have a call on the briefings where I could ask the questions also. And this is absolutely not me saying that all this is wrong one bit. What I'm saying is that there's some issues left that people are asking about. And I've been out Cedar Cove hundreds of times. I walked the mountains. I biked the mountains. I know what some of the concerns are when you're saying, okay, we're going to blast part of Cedar Cove. Well, where at and how much? Yeah. And I know the area very, very well. And people are asking that. And some of the people are asking are Halapu members from out there. And I've always said it may be a tough discussion in a public meeting, but if you have a public meeting and you can explain the best way you can and why you came up with those ideas, I always feel that that's the best way to get all the information out. Now, people may still not like it, but at least you explain the reasons why it was done. And I honestly feel that with everybody working together, and I know, as I said, the Coast Guard, the Town Council, the church group who supplied the meals for the last year and a half, all the residents, everybody wants to work together to get this done right. But I just think once we get all the information out there, and then they're the experts, but we should explain to the people who live in the area why and how this is being done and why this is the best way to do it. Because I seen a little clip this morning on another news outlet where the mayor said it's going to be barged. If it's going to be barged, there's no concern about the road. There's absolutely no concern, but let's get it all confirmed to it. So I'm just expressing the views of the people who came to me and asked me, can you find out? And I'm checking on the permits process. I don't know how long it's going to take if they're not already approved, which I don't think so. But I am checking on that for the people about the permits to ensure that the environment is aware and it's put back. And it's hard to put back when you take out so much rock from an area, example in Cedar Cove. It's hard to put it back normally. You have to dig it up and go and put the rock back. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. That's what people are saying. They're going to restore it to its natural state. I'm not sure that can be done. So that's another issue that has been expressed to me. So I'm just seeking answers for the people who contacted me personally and trying to help with this process, not hinder, help with this process.
Well, knowing that you're on it, and they know now that you're on it, I'm sure they're relieved to an extent, and I know we're going to hear back from you in short quarter as soon as you get the details, and I look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Brian, and again, I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. MSC, the Town Council, Coast Guard, everybody involved has done a great job up to this year with no lives lost, no major environmental disaster. We've got to take our hats off. Let's get the final stage right so everybody can say what a great job done out in Cedar Cove, Lark Harbour area for everybody.
Couldn't agree more. Eddie, listen, we look forward to an update as soon as you get those details and confirm that the barging and all that sort of thing. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I appreciate it, and likewise, right back at you. That is Eddie Joyce, the independent MHA for Humber East. Where am I going? Go to Dave. Going to line number 6. Dave, you're on the air.
Yes, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, our pleasure. What's up?
I got an issue on Bell Island with the dog park. Okay. Now, there's an old fella, friend of mine. He's up in age, and he had his little dog down at the park. Now, remind you, people don't always go into the park with the dog. They unlock the gate.
That's right.
And they hitch the dog in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was in the process of doing this when a husky dog that was well known on this island for tearing up animals, going in people's yards, attacking dogs that are chained on or tied up to their own homes, and killed the cat and stuff like that, and attacked his dog and killed it. Tore it apart. He is heartbroken.
And this happened in the dog park.
11 years.
Happened in the dog park.
He was on his way into the dog park. Yes, sir. Now, the RCMP was contacted. He's told the RCMP what happened down to a certain degree, and the RCMP said that they would investigate and go talk to Buddy and all this stuff. And apparently Buddy was supposed to have the dog on the muzzle if he got it out in public. Now, he's after having 2 complaints. And I heard through the grapevine that if a dog takes his blood from another animal or kills another animal, that is usually put down. So I don't understand, but him and his woman are switching the ownership of the dog back and forth. Now, over here, it's hard to get somebody to talk about anything. So the RCMP said, well, this is the first complaint and this and that. And I said, no. I said, I was there the other day, and Buddy pulled into the driveway, and he was telling how he had to throw chairs and lawn chairs and furniture at this dog because his dog was tied up, but the owners weren't home. So they had to save this dog. And there was a few more that were attacked that pulled up to his house telling them, and the owner threatening a 70-year-old woman about her beagle. And, I mean, she don't even go to the dog park no more because she's frightened dead. Now, she's 70 years old, Brian. 70. With a little dog, and most old people, they don't have children. They got nobody going to visit them. All they got is that dog that they think's the world of, and taken care of, and the dog takes care of them, right?
Dave, just curious, you mentioned this.
Man.
Yep, sorry, go ahead. I'm just curious, a couple of quick questions. You said the first complaint to the RCMP, they said. What about the town? I mean, the town might be your better first point of contact just as far as regulations go. Criminally...
Well, the regulations, they basically tell you to go to the RCMP. Now, I contacted a lawyer for him, and the lawyer told me for him to get a hold of somebody, like animal SVCA or animal control or something, and make a complaint with them, make a complaint to the RCMP, which was done, and so on. And basically what they're saying is that that husky and that tiny little 9-pound dog was in an open area. Now, Buddy was nowhere near. He got a German Shepherd and he got a husky. He was nowhere near his dog. When he ran up to the old fella, he was out of wind. There's a witness, but they want to come forward saying that when he was in the Charles Park, because there was a park in the corner of that field that the children played, they got odds and ends there, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm halfway, and that's not fenced in, my buddy. That's not fenced in.
Yeah, that's my next question.
The only thing that's fenced in there
Yep.
is the ballpark and the dog park. That's the only thing. He was in the open area where there's no fence, nothing, it's all open, right?
Dave, only because I just want to give you a heads up. I got to get to the break. So if you want to try to condense it, and we can always talk about this again, because dog issues like this, a ton of them, dime a dozen, sadly, unfortunately. But I'll give you a few seconds to wrap up.
I'd like to have somebody to phone this number that can lead me. I want to help him, right, to get over this. And he figures he got a raw deal. Just like if anybody that can help him out with a phone call saying where he can go and what routes he can take or whatever else. I'd like for them to phone this number and so I can help him out, right? Because this is not right. It is not right, man.
Yeah, and I got issues with the whole muzzle thing too. Did you say they've been told they have to keep? Who would order them to keep?
And he was seen.
Where did he get the order?
Told him that he had to muzzle it, and 2 nights ago he was seen walking up the road with no muzzle on that dog.
Okay. Dave, listen, I got to get to the break, but we'll do what we can. We got your contact info there. And if anyone is listening to this and they have a route that he might be able to follow, whether it's legal or otherwise, give us a shout. We'll follow this up. We won't just leave it out there, but you've got it out there today. And if there's anyone listening who can help out or has got a suggestion and we get it, we'll send it on to you.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Good luck. Thanks for the call. Okay, off the break, Dave, and right back with Walter Ross and the Shadow Minister of Rural Development, Michael King, going to respond as well. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show. Quick note, by the way, we mentioned right off the top because it's always important. We have some teenagers missing. They've been found in Central. The 2 teenagers, 16 and 17, were reported missing, of course, after failing Just unable to reach them after they left home around 2:45 yesterday afternoon. And just a short time ago, about an hour, half hour ago now, the RCMP say they've been since found, safe and sound. So that is great news. And thanks to the Exploits Search and Rescue for their help in locating those teens. And, of course, the public for all the support that they contributed as well. Let's go right to line number 2. And the critic for rural development, Michael King, the Liberal MHA for Burjo-Lapoile. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian, and that's certainly great news to hear that those teenagers have been found for sure. Really makes the heart feel good.
Absolutely. Just don't need us, Oh, my God. Yeah. So, yes, great news.
Yes, for sure. No, Brian, I wanted to call this morning with the recent news yesterday. It certainly feels like deja vu all over again here in the province. After question period yesterday, we were asking questions to the government, and it was confirmed that a former PC cabinet minister has been hired to advise on Churchill Falls. We asked the question in the House, and the Premier did admit to the media after that it was Jerome Kennedy, who is a former Minister of Natural Resources in the Danny Williams era in this province. So we have a lot of concerns about that announcement. I heard the Deputy Premier on earlier talking about, will they communicate to the public when they feel the time is right for them? Well, the time is right now because they got caught. We asked questions about this in the House. They had to confirm this information and then to further figure out that he's been around since January. So there is a lot of questions around transparency here, especially around the MOU. We've been asking a number of questions, as you know, in the House on the MOU and different agreements in this province, trying to figure out where the government is on this. They appointed an independent panel. Now we hear there's more people hired to review reviews. So, we need to hear from the Premier. We need to know where he stands on this. We understand there's important reviews that need to happen, but how many reviews need to happen? We need to know what the Premier thinks about this.
Yeah. Is there any reason you didn't mention Burn Coffee as well?
Well, actually, you know what? I will mention Byrne Coffey as well, because the government didn't acknowledge that Byrne was a paid political staffer for the Conservatives during the MOU debate. So, he has already made an opinion on the MOU as well. This is, I cannot for the life of me understand, Brian, why the Premier cannot tell the people. He is an elected official. He represents his district. He is also the Premier of this province. Why can he not tell the people of the province what he thinks of the MOU? When the PCs were in opposition at the time when the MOU was before the House of Assembly, a 4-day debate with a negotiating team that was announced right away during the time, the 3 negotiating folks that were there. They came into the House of Assembly, a special debate, very open, very transparent, and when the time came for them to decide what they thought of the MOU, they stood up and walked out of the House. So I think that's not fair to the people of this province. We need to see transparency here. They campaign heavily on transparency, and I have to tell you, we're not seeing that here now.
Now, I mentioned it off the top, and I do have issues with that. Look, again, and the qualifications of both lawyers, Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Coffey, cannot be, on a straight-up basis, uber qualified, no question about that. I also have the issue with the transparency, and this is not, people. I've been 3 days in the job, Michael. It's like, big left and liberal support. Give me a break. I'm here to be as unbiased and just see it as it is as I can. I have no, irons in the fire. I got no skin in the game or anything other than trying to get to the bottom of things. And as a 30-year reporter, communication and transparency drives me cracked when we can't just get to the heat of it, and why they keep things that they know are going to blow up in the public, or at least cause extra skepticism on a process that's already highly suspect, when you consider that most people believe that the fix is already in. When you look at Mr. Williams' comments as to how he just flatly said that he killed it. So, are they on the same page? But I do have an issue with that. They were hired in January, and we only found out yesterday. I mean, if they don't see the problem with that, not keeping it. And I spoke to Mr. Pettin about this morning, and they just said, we do things in different timing for different reasons. Same thing with Des Whalen, Dr. Des Whalen in the Premier's office. We had to find out through an ATIPA request that this was happening. And again, if there's no issue with it and it's all straight up and above board, why hide it? Why not announce it? Why not come out and shout it from the mountaintops? And that way you defend it off the top. Again, as I said, both men, highly qualified, great lawyers, Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Coffey, and they may do great work, but it just tinges and taints the whole process.
And I certainly agree, Brian, and it goes back to the point, you mentioned Des Whalen. We had to figure out for ATIP for MCP, we had to figure out by asking questions in the House of Assembly, but then they're only answering those questions when they're asked, and then they're acting like they're being open and transparent with the public. I definitely don't agree with that. And to the point of the qualifications, I certainly agree with your statement there, but we also have to look at the decisions that they made when they were in elected office and they were part of the government. I'm 31 years old, Brian. My generation in this province is trying to get ahead. We want to stay in this province. We want to have a prosperous future. But we also have to look at the decisions that PC governments have made. I know people probably don't want to hear it, but Muskrat Falls is still a very, very big problem in this province. Rate mitigation. We have $500 million a year to make sure light bills don't double in this province. $5.2 billion agreement that a previous government had to make sure that happened. Now, those politicians who made those mistakes are back here again to squander a bright and prosperous opportunity for future generations in this province to benefit my generation and the next to come.
Michael,
and we're supposed to just trust them.
Yeah.
I have a lot of concerns around this, Brian.
And only because I'm right at the news. I will say this. There is a bit of pejorative language that I try to stay away from. If we're going to say they are here to squander something, I take issue with that. I find it hard to believe that true blue Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are in there to squander a deal that could benefit us all well into the future. I will say this. Everybody's saying that this is tainted because Mr. Kennedy was the Natural Resources Minister when Muskrat was sanctioned. I believe they've learned. From that. I believe that kind of experience could be helpful, and I will not prejudge it for fear of being tainted as a liberal or whatever people want to say. I'm just seeing it for the surface, and there's no question these are highly intelligent, experienced legal adjudicators of whether it's an MOU or whether it's a budget. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt from now. The problem I have is the complete lack of transparency and openness that we were promised, along with a lot of other things when the government was elected. That's my issue right now, the fact that these things are kept quiet until they're revealed. And the longer we go on with that, the skepticism is going to fuel itself. Michael, look, I'm really sorry. I'm 2 minutes after the news. Thanks for the call.
Brian, I'll just quickly say, listen to their words, judge them on their actions, and so far the actions they're taking, the people that they're appointing, is causing me serious concerns for this MOU going forward in the future, and I think the people of Newfoundland and Labrador should be concerned as well.
Understood, and loud and clear. Michael, thanks for the call.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, off the news. Let's do it.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
And welcome back to the show. Just before we get to our next caller, I got an email there. I had a chat earlier with Bob Buckingham on the Canada Life Insurance class action lawsuit that's been proposed and being put forth on behalf of the privacy breach. And I got an email wondering about that. Received a letter from Canada Life stating they recently identified the cyber incident. And can you direct me as to anything I should do at this point? Yeah, absolutely. Contact Bob Buckingham Law, because Bob is launching this class action lawsuit on behalf of claimants in this province and others. And so, you can find that online, but I'll give you a phone number. Just throw it out there for anyone who's listening, 709-739-6688. 709-739-6688, and that's for anyone who may have been affected, got a letter. You may actually, I don't want to say if you got the letter, because you may not have gotten the letter in one way or shape or form, but you may still be affected. And if you had any coverage through Canada Life, whether through provincial government and that sort of thing, if you, or provincially, then you can give Bob Buckingham Law a call, because he's fronting that, representing the potential claimants in that proposed class action lawsuit. Let's go right to line number 4 and thank Walter for his patience. Walter, you're on the air.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Brian. Thank you so much. Before I get to my quick little topic, can I just send you a sincere congratulations on the responsibility and the privilege you have adopted there at VOCM. While our government, of course, is very crucial to everybody's life, we also need a great opposition. And some of the silliness that goes on in the House of Assembly, not a lot of stuff gets done sometimes, and VOCM Open Line has always been I think, one of our greatest oppositions, responsible and open-minded opposition. So I think you're going to do a fantastic job, and I just want to say congratulations.
And I really appreciate that. I would, however, steer clear of just opposition. I think information would be a better word as far as I go. I don't want to always be tasked with just opposing, if you see what I mean, right? Just a definition of the word. I want to make it clear because, we get the, the calls and, you're one-sided, you're this one-sided. Oppose when we have to, support when it's clear that it deserves it. But I appreciate the kind words, Walter. I really do.
Thanks so much, and I agree with you there. I'll be very brief because I know your show is very busy. Here in St. John's, we have some of the most beautiful walking trails that you will find anywhere, not only in Canada but in the world. And more time and effort and money and resources is being put into, making our walking trails as enjoyable, to be honest, possible. Sadly, there are more and more incidences of people being accosted on our walking trails, and the latest one here, a lovely lady reached out to me, happened at Cowan Park just this past weekend, and 4 or 5 young youth, male youth, decided that they wanted to verbally abuse and attack this young lady, and what they said to her was just it's just heinous. I can't even repeat it. Needless to say, I think if, like myself and my beautiful wife, my legs don't work as good as they used to. 4 years of working in hard sports, and she's usually about 60 or 70 feet ahead of me. Had I come upon someone saying what they said to this young lady, to basically threaten her and promise her that if they see her on the walking trail again, that they were going to sexually assault her, I think I would have lost my mind. I would have zoned out.
I as well.
So, whether we can do something in the city where perhaps our RNC bike patrols can take scoots down through our walking trails, just random, show a bit of presence there, show a bit of the visual deterrent that is law enforcement. As trail users, you just have to be responsible and earbuds maybe not be the way to go, and just don't walk alone. Of course, I'm not victim blaming in any way, but some people have reached out to me and said, families. Yes, sometimes it is a family deal. Sometimes it is a learned behavior. However, I think I've known in my life many times when a family is a wonderful family, but they're fit to be tied. They're at their wits' end of trying to deal with one family member that just doesn't get the way you're supposed to go through life. So my quick little message today is to these youth who did that and who said that, you're playing resident roulette, and whether you're out stealing packages or out, if somebody leaves their vehicle open in the nighttime, they forget to lock their vehicle, that's not a sign for you to go rob whatever's in there. They just forgot to lock their vehicle. So be careful what you're doing. I'm not, condoning any kind of violence, but people are fed up. People are stressed out. Prices are so high with everything. People are they're fed up. And these kids, and I say kids lightly because, when we grew up, or when I grew up, what I saw as a 20-year-old, kids now see as a 10-year-old with social media and cellular phones and stuff. But just watch your bobber, young fellows, because, you fool around, you might find out that it's not going to work out really well. So just be responsible, be respectful, enjoy the trails, so that other people can enjoy the trails as well.
Is this Cowan Park there, just west of Hamlin Road? Just
off Frecker Drive.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
We've got a lovely tennis court there, pickleball court.
My daughter used to play baseball up there. Yep.
Yeah, lovely spot, beautiful spot. The entirety of Cowan Heights, and of course all over Rainey's Mill, everywhere in the city, has just got a trails network that's second to none.
Yeah, shout out to the city for that, no question. Yep.
Second to none. So it's just different times, but again, I will caution anybody. Horseplay is one thing. Like we used to go, play Spotlight or Nicky Nine Door or Red Rover or hide and seek. But I think the games that are being played now are getting fairly dangerous, especially for who's doing it and of course who's receiving it.
Walter, just be clear. So you heard and saw this happen, did you? Firsthand?
Well, this is a lovely lady who was on Facebook, and she had no issues with putting it on, and she had mentioned about it. And I'm the type of person who I like to get all the information first. I don't want to be first. I'd like to be correct. So after speaking with her, there's no question about it. And listen, there's an incident last night where 10 jumped 1 here, and 10-on-1 is not a fair fight. God knows what happened, why it happened, but it's just a different way of, for some reason, for some people to have fun, and I just don't get it. But I tell you what, be careful what you say to people on the trails, because you don't know who's coming up behind.
No, you don't. And really, watch your bobber is one thing. Stay to yourself these days. You can't even. You just have to watch every P and Q. I'm with you 100%. You don't know. I didn't see her posting, so I'm there on social media, if I see it, but I don't spend a lot of time on it unless I really have to. I'm just curious if anything came of this. Was there a charge, or did she indicate in any way that any follow up with the police or anything like that?
Facebook, of course, has hundreds and thousands of users, so I'm not surprised that you wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. I didn't get into any kind of charges and stuff. I do believe, without getting into too much, I do believe that she does have the name of the person who was involved and where it's gone from there. Okay. I don't know, but again, I'll go back to this. Sometimes, policing starts at home or starts in the group of friends. So if you were one of the 4 or 5 that was with him, and he said these things, it's okay for you to speak up to him and say, hey, dude, that's not cool.
Yeah, at the very least. Walter, thanks for the, we need it, right? We need it to get in people's consciousness. Some things are very obvious, plain as a nose in your face, but it needs to be said, needs to be called out. And this kind of stuff, it's getting away from us. There's a level of anxiety, as you said, lack of patience, and the switch off to anger and violence that I've ever seen before. But watch your bobber is right. Walter, thanks for the call. Don't be a stranger, and I really appreciate the kind words once again.
Thank you so much for your time, Brian. All the best.
Thank you. You too. All right, Dave, right on the break. Let's, first time this morning, I think, let's come right back with Ross in the queue on the food fishery after the break. And welcome back to the show. As promised, let's go right to line number 5. And Ross, you're on the air.
Yes, good day, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making the call. What can I do?
Yeah, no problem. The issue on my mind today is the food fishery.
Not many.
Many minds. I've called in so many times, I'm tired of calling in.
Oh, don't do that.
No, I won't do that. But when, I don't know what the problem is, but when Joanne Thomas got elected the federal fisheries minister, Joanne Thompson, and I'm not a liberal. I sent an email and I congratulated her on being the federal fisheries minister, and told her that probably something will happen for Newfoundland. 10 minutes later, I got an email back. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, over the last year that she's been that federal fisheries minister, I have emailed her probably 20 times, no response. I have signed very, very many petitions about what we want in the food fishery, no responses. She has been to Newfoundland 4 or 5 times on photo ops, announcing different things the federal government has done, but she's never taken the courtesy to delay her stay in Newfoundland for 1 day and sit down with people related to the fishery. Now, can somebody explain that to me? Like I'm at wit's end with this. I don't understand it. Why couldn't you just stay another day and sit down and talk to the people in the food fishery? No. So what do you do? Do we get a new federal fisheries minister the next time around, or what?
Well, I mean, the minister obviously is not just a minister for food fishery, minister of DFO and everything else across this country. So I will say this, first of all, a minister of the federal crown, she's got a few things on her plate. So, I'm not, there's not a defense here. Your call for, look, I could reach her right off the top, but now I can't reach her anymore. There's a reason for that, given that portfolio. And, the other side of this is there was a large survey where that would have been the conduit. by which she learned how people in the food fishery, and you say people just in general, I assume you're just talking about JQ Public as opposed to the actual organizations, or like the FAW, or
I'm just.
Do you mean just like a public meeting?
Public.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they would point to the survey, because rather than the physical minister, the minister being able to physically show up at these meetings, and look, as I said, it's a busy portfolio, and I know what you're saying, just delay a day. Well, a lot of planning comes with that, because I can tell you the schedule is chock full. I'm not in, it's not a defense, it's just a reality of a federal minister of the Crown who's not just the minister for Newfoundland and Labrador, although we wish she was and would do everything that we all want. But, she is the whole country in her portfolio, and the West Coast has its issues, and every now and then there's stories come up about beluga whales and what they're going to do with those. And so there's a lot going on in her portfolio. And so this survey was supposed to capture what we all feel about the food fishery and how we want to see it go. And as difficult as it is to wait, as I always say, the waiting is the hardest part. Thank you, Tom Petty.
Yeah.
But, June is supposed to be the announcement. So I'm willing to give, because this was a pretty substantial and thorough survey. It captured, I say that, but I also, I won't say it's critical of me to say it, but I think we all know what we want out of the food fishery, whether or not that needed to come from a survey. No one was surprised by the results or the response, which was record numbers that got involved. And so we'll see when the rubber hits the road what the decision is in June when it's released. They're poring over the survey. They're poring over the science. I'm not really sure how much science has to do with it when we're talking 5 ground fish a day. And, I'd more like they'd put some concentration on the draggers, to say the truth.
My thing about the whole thing is, my ancestors were in Newfoundland in 1820. So my ancestry has over 200 years of fishery in Newfoundland. Now, you take the Webster Dictionary and look up indigenous, and it says that you were born of the land, living on the land, and whatever. So I feel myself, I am an indigenous Newfoundlander. I live 30 feet from the ocean, and you're telling me that I can't go out and get a fish? You're telling me that for 200 years my ancestors are wrong? There's where I have a problem. I really have a problem with that. I'm 70 years old, and what I grew up with in my lifetime, slowly, this federal government has been taking away. So what do? I live 30 feet from the ocean. There's lots of lobsters, there's lots of codfish, there's lots of mussels, there's lots of scallops. But I sit 30 feet away and depend on that little tiny pension I get from the government, and I choose to eat or eat because I'm not allowed to go 30 feet away and get something to eat. There's something totally wrong with this whole thing. And by the way, the recreational food fishery is not recreational. It's a resident food fishery. It's called subsistence. Why are we as Newfoundlanders allowed to subsistence hunt and fish? There's a lot of problems going on in this world. And in Canada, there are 5 different laws for 5 different cultures. So it's time for somebody to wake up, smell the roses, look after the people. It's not about the almighty dollar. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, Ross, I will say this is, unfortunately, today, it is about the almighty dollar, and that's the problem. All of your answers to all of your questions is money. I'm with you on the recreational versus resident. I think the recreational side has to come out of it because it does unfairly and wrongly
wrongly addresses the title of that
and describes
what it is.
It wrongly describes exactly what people are doing there because
so the minute you say residential, you think about fun and games and ATVs and water skis and jet skis and all that. This is not recreational fishery. This is subsistence. This is putting food on the table.
Here. Listen, 100%, 1,000%. I agree with that that explanation. Absolutely, Ross. Only because I'm right at the break. I'll give you a minute there to wrap up.
Yeah, well.
But you've been very articulate.
I know. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Like, my father had a salmon license. My grandfather had a lobster license. It's all been taken away from me because I wasn't the son. But yet. And I don't want to get on this subject, but yet there are people that are born in Canada. We're supposed to be all Canadian citizens, but we're not all Canadian citizens. There's people that are born in Canada after 2015 that when they turn 18 years old are getting $20,000 off the government of Canada.
Again,
now, explain that to me.
Well, I wish I had more time, but I got to get going. But I will say again, the answer to all your questions is indeed money. Money. Look, Ross, don't be a stranger. I need, we get a lot of calls on the food fishery. This is important. What you're saying is a sentiment that a lot of people share. And I invite you anytime to repeat it because it needs to be said.
Yeah, that's my heritage. That's what I grew up with. That's where I came from. And slowly it's being taken away from us.
Well, we joined Canada, and there was a trade-off that came with that. Over the years, our fishery has indeed been traded off in exchange for other things.
Yes. You know what the vote was when Newfoundland joined Canada?
Yeah, it was 51-49.
51 to join, 49 not to.
It was close.
And my parents before that were British subjects. Now, 130 years before this came, Newfoundland joined Confederation. My parents were British subjects. They're not considered Indigenous. My parents don't get anything out of it.
Well, Indigenous is, and you mentioned that earlier. Look, we're talking First Nations are, that is another category altogether. People, cultures, specific species that are native to a specific region.
First Nations are First Nations.
Exactly, they were here first, and
Indigenous people are Indigenous people. There are four Indigenous colonies in Newfoundland who migrated here in the 17th century. They came here from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, which was at one time Lower Canada, and they moved here from Labrador.
Ross, I'm real sorry, but I got to get off to that break.
Yeah, but all right.
I'm really sorry. Look, this is a big topic. I did mention a minute ago that I had to go, so I wanted to give you another minute, but I don't want to give you short shrift. Look, the line is always open for you, okay? So I look forward to the next call, but I'm 2 minutes past the break, and we're into the home stretch for the day, and we have the Munfa President, Dr. Lisa Moores, on hold, and we'll get right to her after the break.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
And welcome back to the show. As promised, let's go right to line number 3. And the president of the Memorial University Faculty Association, Dr. Lisa Moores, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Whirlwind it is here, Lisa, I have to tell you.
I would say I'm going to dig into my open line lore, Brian, and say let us throw you a bouquet for this big announcement on locking down the open line host seat. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So, Mon, on the surface, I've listened to the president, Janet Morrison, her comments and everything. It's been in the media the last couple of days. This isn't, as she said herself, this isn't new. This is an ongoing project to make Mon, well, for lack of a better word, smaller, leaner, meaner. How would you characterize it?
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that the key words have been smaller and kind of contraction and contracted. So that has been the theme throughout the last several months for sure.
Yeah, and we know that Dr. Morrison, there's been some, whatever you want to call it, skepticism or concern that the work she did at Sheridan College up along, there was a lot of reductions and cuts and all that sort of thing there. There's been no real indication of job losses and this sort of thing here, but I don't know how that doesn't happen if you make something smaller. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a logical leap from it. I will say we have already seen faculty job losses. Those are ongoing. We've seen a number of contractual teaching term faculty members. Most recently, I think we chatted as well about the elimination of contractual positions for first-year math instructors as well. So those job losses are happening, and yeah, I think it's a logical kind of worry. The anxiety is a real one around, the potential for these kinds of reorganizations to be a kind of segue into further reorganization that will, result in those things, program losses, job losses, but also a real fear of ours is really get to a point where it's compromising Memorial's capacity to operate as a comprehensive university, which is absolutely critical when you're the only university in the province.
Yeah, the identity, what it stands for, the work it does, how does it not leak into that or impact those situations? I mean, the identity itself is one thing. I guess, bricks and mortar doesn't necessarily define a university. But when you look at losing places like Harlow and then, and the outreach that provided, I just wonder, where is MUN going? Where do you feel it's going on a bigger picture? Because seriously, I mean, we know the financial crunch, but there's no question about that. If you're going to have tuition freezes as we have coming up in the fall, the government has to compensate MUN for that. It's all about, as I've said 100 times, the answer to all your questions is money. Are we losing more, though, than just, infrastructure and tangible assets as opposed to the identity of the university?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you make a good point, right? These things are intrinsically, combined together. In a place like ours, that can be different at different institutions. But for us, when you start getting into the people and you start getting into kind of the core mandate of the university, there's a lot said about the special responsibility of the university to the province. But when you really dig into that, it's hard to see how a smaller memorial really benefits anybody. How does that benefit the province when we have a very rapidly aging population? We're going to have a lot of labor sector shortages ahead. We know we have significant issues with out-migration. These are really times when you want to be digging into, having the university as a resource to keep young people here to help address those issues. So it's certainly all related together. And, I think trying to reframe, cuts and losses as evolving that's a difficult one to lean into, because in reality what we see is, really contraction is about loss, and that's where we are.
How have the discussions gone with MUN as far as MUNFA goes? I mean, we know it was 3 years ago, and I covered the strike by Memorial University of Newfoundland Faculty Association back in January, I think it was 2023. It's what kind of pushback? I mean, when does it get too much for the faculty?
Well, I mean, that's the question, right, is you're trying to remain open and allow opportunities to have discussions. We're open to kind of entertaining conversations about changes that are needed. There's no doubt that there's a need to kind of look at, what adjustments can be made. But also at the same time, a lot of concern among our members and for us as the representatives that this really strong focus on cutting and on smaller, putting a lot of resources and energy in there may also mean that we're not giving those resources and energy to looking at ways to prevent the university from becoming smaller, right? Or to try and find ways to ensure that we stay strong and that we're being creative about finding ways to improve that situation. You've referenced, the tuition freeze coming up. We also heard an announcement around a tuition rebate rebate, there's a real possibility that those things, especially the rebate, could end up really working in Memorial's favor in terms of enrollment. We've also heard that this year there have been a larger number of applications to Memorial, yet we still see the focus and the plan being very strictly around contraction of the university.
Yeah, and not a real urgency to fix the declining, or at least be okay with the declining enrollment and settle into some numbers that they're happy with. I don't know what kind of numbers they are, but people hear this when declining enrollment. It surprises some people, only because it is the only game in the province. And, it's a great institution. It's got great history. It's got great professors. It's, the history of the institution, the research that's done, the new core science. Then you look at all of the different work that's going on in the medical sphere. What can you point your finger to of the reason for the declining enrollment, which seems to be the main driver here to make it smaller?
Yeah, and that's interesting because there are actually very clear indicators of where that happened. So we've heard President Morrison reference, 2021 as a benchmark. In reality, that was a little bit of an outlier. Many institutions across Canada during the COVID lockdown saw a little bit of an artificial bump because of things going online. People who wouldn't otherwise be able to avail of studies were able to do so. If we look overall to the years before and after that, usually Memorial's enrollment has been around 18,000 and change kind of thing, right? Well, we saw that change. It wasn't a population shift. We saw tuition doubled in order to offset funding cuts to the operating grant. And accordingly, the next year, we saw a 19% decrease in enrollment. More recently, the next kind of bump around it was due to changes in the international student program, the visas that happened at the federal level. That was a 69% swing for this province.
You just took the words right out of my mouth.
A 10% bump.
Yep. Yeah. And I was wondering, my next question, the immigration reductions in the country and how that affected. I was curious of how much of that would have been attributable to it, but you just answered that question for me.
Huge amount.
Yep.
Yeah, we saw a 23.5% decrease in our international students, millions of dollars lost there. We thought we'd get a 10% bump in visas. We got a 59% decrease in visas. So these are all things that are not really out of control. They may be out of our control, certainly as faculty members, but they're really consequences of decisions that are being made about funding and resources for the university. Had we not had, to deal with the funding cuts and had tuition not been increased, we probably wouldn't have seen that first large kind of decrease in enrollment. Had these issues with the international student visas not happened, we wouldn't have seen that one. So this is very different from the kind of year-on-year, slow decline in numbers and enrollment that I think have been referenced to. These are really tied to very key points in the timeline where that enrollment changed. Overall, it's about 1,000 students down, a little more, 1,000 to 1,200. But again, we could certainly see that, incentives like a tuition rebate, is that possibly going to help us gain back some of those students and some of the enrollment? Definitely a possibility.
And those numbers, they're not necessarily just leaving the province. They may be going to other specialty colleges. How much of that is happening, whether it's CNA, the other special, I could list them off, but if I name one, then others will get upset. So I won't name it. But the private colleges, the CNA, and other, realms, are they leaving MUN for that, or are they just leaving the province?
Yeah, well, usually when you see, again, that kind of sharp change after a key event, it's fair to say that key event is really the driver there. I'm sure there's other adjustments and changes that are happening. There's some folks who might feel they're better suited to education elsewhere in post-secondary. That's great. You want folks to have the right fit. But there are very much other folks that are kind of moving into university as an option, in families that didn't have that before. And that's been a real core of our mandate also at Memorial, is ensuring that people who want to have that opportunity have it, and they have it right here in their province. And that's how you strengthen the province, right? So we're seeing a lot certainly put into a response to a relatively recent kind of change in enrollment, and that really clear and emphasis on smaller contraction That's concerning for sure. If there's a concern that maybe the university is resigning itself to that as inevitable, as opposed to kind of really digging in and maybe trying to find the resolve to create some change there, or make our best shot at trying to create some change before we, work on changing all of the structures to adapt to this relatively recent new environment.
Yeah, and it's new environment is absolutely right. When you look at the need and the demand that's going to be there for skilled trades, whether it's for the Bay du Nord project, whether it's for the Churchill Falls expansion, they've spoken openly about the skilled trades, and the federal government is all over that as well. So interesting times, to say the least. Dr. Lisa Moores, Munn for President, I really appreciate your time. It'll be fascinating to watch how this happens. It may be glacial. We'll see how it goes, but please keep us informed for context,
We will do, Brian, and I'll just make a note. I think the really important part to keep a watch of here is how this is going to work between the two, bicameral parts of the university's decision-making bodies,
yes,
Board of Regents and the Senate. A big concern for our members here is, one, that Senate in this, this plan that's set out here is only coming in at the end when all of this work is done. That information will be shared and they'll be asked for approval. That's a concern. Those two bodies are meant to be collaborative partners, equal partners, with their own focus, board being financial and Senate being academic. But then also the concern that here we have the Board of Regents kind of downloading this responsibility onto the president, as opposed to taking its own accountability and responsibility there. So we'll certainly be looking to hold accountability there, and I look forward to updating you on that for sure.
Well, I look forward to it as well. I know we've gone a bit over time, but this is too important a conversation, and I appreciate every bit of minute you gave us, every bit of time you gave us today. Thanks so much again.
Thanks so much. Likewise. Cheers.
Okay, bye. All right, that was Dr. Lisa Moores, of course, President of Munn Faculty. Let's take our last break of the morning. Back with Stephanie in a moment. Look for some help with some yard work. Let's help her out right after the break. And welcome back to the program, into our home stretch, actually the last few minutes of the program here. Let's welcome to the program. Stephanie, you're on the air.
Hi there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your new job.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. People have been very kind. I'm waiting for the slings and arrows, though. This is just the honeymoon. I'm sure it's coming.
Right on. But anyway, I'm looking for somebody responsible. I guess. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be saying. But anyway, I need somebody to help with the yard work, like to rake the leaves and that, for now, before the lawn starts to grow. I'm a little bit of an invalid. My mother's 89, and she wants to go out and do it, but I don't want her. So I got to try and keep the leash. So that's mainly why I'm calling, looking for somebody to, and we'll supply everything. Just somebody to come by and help us rake the leaves and prep for summer.
Sure. Where are you located, first of all?
In Mount Pearl.
Okay, and is it, what makes it unable, when you say invalid, that your word, not mine?
Yeah.
Not to get too personal,
I have
but
MS.
Okay.
I have MS, and it's starting now to take over my life, unfortunately.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I have people in my life and my family afflicted as well.
Yes, and it's not an easy thing, and I hate to admit that I can't do it, but I can't. So I don't know where else to look.
There's a few options I can think of just off the top of my head now, and I'll just say, so first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is the local MS Society. Have you had any conversation with them about, what possible connections they may have? I'm sure other people are in the same boat.
I never even thought of it.
Okay, well, I can give you that information. That's one, and I'll do that before I let you go. There's also... let's see. Empower NL, that's a great organization as well. They programs and services, for people who independent living and that sort of thing, who need help. And it's a disability resource centers, for lack of a better phrase. I think that's exactly what they call it, actually, a disability resource center. I can give you that information as well. I was looking, and I had somebody I helped out while I was just filling in the fill-in role a little while ago, who had the same kind of need, and we know there are student services out there. Now, I just can't remember the name. There's an organization, and it's a bunch of students. I think they're university students, and there's probably high school students out there. This is a great conversation to have, though, Stephanie, because at this time of year, you are by far not alone. Someone would love a little help, with that work. Things around the yard, like you said, everything is supplied. It's all right there. They'll wonder, of course, about, are you looking to pay or compensation or that sort of thing?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's what they want, I'm willing, they're willing. If they do a good job, we'll give them back.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's start with those two for now, and we'll put these out there. I'll give you the information. You got a pen handy, or?
I do, yeah.
What would you rather, an email or a cell? I'll give you both. So the phone number is 709-753-9860.
753-9860.
Now, there's a toll front.
For which one?
This is the MS Society.
Okay.
MS Avalon East Support Group. Let's see, and info at mscanada.ca.
mscanada.ca.
And let's see, Empower. I just had that one up. What did I do with it? Right. 709-722.
709-722.
4031. 4031, yep. And that is the Disability Resource Center. That's what they call it. And that's an Escazoni place in St. John's. So Monday to Friday hours, not open on weekends or holidays. And the email there is info, simple, at EmpowerNL. So that's EM, as in Michael, Power NL. So EmpowerNL, all one word, .ca.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And by all means, get back to us. Let us know how it worked, because I know we're going to get other callers in the spring cleanup time that we're in, and they'll be interested to know how you made out. And so will we.
All right. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
I will.
All right. Take care. Okay. Thank you so much for the call. All righty. Wow, that was a morning. Thanks to Dave Williams back there behind the glass handling. That was a busy one, Dave. I could see all 8 of your legs and arms going, you octopus, you. Thanks, everyone, for the calls and the emails, all very informative. Thanks for, again, halfway through my first week here. I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate all the support. As I get, a little more comfortable in the role and we smooth things out and make it more listenable, including my clicking mouse, because a few mouses going on and it's not just mine. Thanks, everyone. Drive safely. Arrive alive. VOCM cares.